wildcard week of the NFL playoffs, and the Baltimore Ravens are off, but we are watching, waiting, and excited to see who the Ravens will face at home in the divisional round of the playoffs. This video, I'm going to be talking about who I think the Ravens should play, the best matchups, and how they can get to the Super Bowl and potentially end up winning it. So let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content as much as possible, hopefully every single day from now on. I told you guys Wednesday would be the day I'm back. I am back. Let's get into it. But first off, let's talk about wildcard weekend. I'm not going to talk necessarily about the games and who I think are going to win. I'm going to talk about, winners and how they match up against the potential Baltimore Ravens. So, if you don't know the playoff seedings, I would think most people would, but I'll run through it really quickly. Buffalo is playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kansas City is playing against the Miami Dolphins. And the Cleveland Browns are playing in Houston. The four teams that the Baltimore Ravens can face are the Houston Texans, the Cleveland Browns, the Miami Dolphins, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Ravens face off against the worst possible seed. So if the Steelers win, they automatically play the Steelers, okay? So if you see a road team win, that's more than likely going to be the team that the Baltimore Ravens are playing. So the benefit is, here's the best thing I think about this whole situation. The Ravens would not have to play both Kansas City and Buffalo. I think those are the two best teams in the AFC outside of the Baltimore Ravens. They will either be eliminated in the first round, or they will be playing each other in the second round, and one of them will lose. So that's huge news for the Baltimore Ravens, because those are two very good teams led by very good quarterbacks. And in the playoffs, the scariest thing you want to play is a top-tier quarterback. In my personal opinion, you could throw I'll throw CJ Stroud in there, but like playoff experience, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are the only two with real playoff experience outside of Joe Flacco in this entire playoff. So we don't have to play them. But out of those other teams, who do I want to play? This is a really tough one because they're all rematches. The Ravens played the Texans in week 1. They played the Miami Dolphins down the stretch, and obviously they played the Browns and Steelers multiple times. The Steelers, we did rest some players in our final matchup. But in my opinion, you never want to play a divisional opponent in the playoffs. Divisional opponents are the most difficult ones to play because you see them the most. They're the hardest to blow out, and they're the ones that usually play you the hardest, and they're the most physical. The Browns and the Steelers have seen Lamar Jackson by far more than any other team outside of the Bengals in the NFL. And if you play them, they're going to have a better grasp of how your offense is working because we already played them twice. And they're going to be able to get after the quarterback. And they both have really good pass rushers. TJ Watt, I think, would be back in the divisional round. He's not playing this week, but I don't want to play him. Like, that is not something that I am looking forward to playing because their defense is also very, very good. I would much rather be playing a team that relies on their offense than a team that relies on their defense because I believe in the Ravens' defense. We can shut teams down. Let's go against a team with a bad defense and try and get after them. So that leaves me with the Houston Texans and the Miami Dolphins. The Houston Texans, I think, have the better quarterback. However, they are missing a lot of weapons. Like Tank Dell is out. Their wide receiver core is very depleted without him. And then the Miami Dolphins, they're injured right now. They don't have Bradley Chubb. They may not have Jalen Waddle for the first round in Kansas City. But the benefit of them is it will be January in Baltimore. It'll be very cold. But that same thing goes with the Houston Texans. With both of them, they're both going to be playing in uncomfortable environments. Now, CJ Stroud doesn't have an advantage over Tua Tagovailoa in that area because CJ Stroud did play college football at Ohio State University, much colder than Alabama. But a really cold football game is going to benefit the Baltimore Ravens. So, in my opinion, I think the best matchup is the Texans, even though they have the best quarterback of those four. It is a rookie quarterback, and they will have to have beaten the Browns, which I think is very doable based on how CJ Stroud is playing. And I'm not even going to take into consideration the fact that the Ravens played the Texans because it was week 1. That Ravens scheme was very new. CJ Stroud was a rookie in his first career game. Like, that's not something where you can look at it and be like, oh, we can take a ton of things from that. You can't. Like, it was like it was the first game of their head coach, the first game of our offensive coordinator, Odell's first game, Zay's first game. These are very different teams than when they played in week 1, and I think that'd be a really good matchup and a good test. Like, when the Ravens won their last Super Bowl, who were the quarterbacks they went through? They went through Andrew Luck, they went through Peyton Manning, and then they went through Tom Brady to get to the Super Bowl. That prepared them. You want to play the best to get to the best. You can't go through the playoffs playing only bad teams unless you're the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think that's the best option. Now, then it gets tricky because if you win that game, you go to the conference championship game. The benefit is you're playing that at home, but you will likely lose your advantage because it's probably going to be the Bills or Kansas City Chiefs that you're going to be playing. Both of them know the cold. Now, the M&T Bank Stadium is one of the best atmospheres in the NFL. It's a very difficult place to play, so I'm not like saying you lose that home field advantage, but you lose the weather advantage. You lose the used to playing in the really cold weather sort of advantage. So, in my opinion, the Ravens have a decent opportunity because they don't have to play the two best teams. It would have been really bad if the Bills didn't beat the Dolphins, because then the Ravens would have probably played the Bills in the divisional round, which would have been a really tough game. This isn't going to be a Lamar Jackson playoff rematch like he's had in years past, right? He's played the Titans twice in the playoffs, and he's already played the Bills once in the playoffs. So I don't want to see that rematch in his first game back in the postseason, because his last postseason game was against Buffalo. And if you guys remember, he actually went down with a concussion and was unable to return in that football game. Tyler Huntley finished the game. I think he went down in the third quarter. But when I'm looking at this potential schedule, we'll call it, I get pretty excited because I think they're all good matchups. And I think the Ravens can absolutely win all of them. But if I had to pick, I'd want to play the Texans, not because I think they're the worst team, but I think it's because we've seen them the least. And I think when teams haven't seen Lamar Jackson, it makes it more difficult for them to play against him. Houston's only played against Lamar Jackson, I believe, twice in Lamar Jackson's career. The Dolphins have played against him 3 or maybe even 4 times. He played him in 2019. He played him last year. He played him this year. And this would be the 4th time that he would be going up against the Dolphins. So it's not necessarily something that I really want to see is another Dolphins game, because they've seen him. And I know we kind of beat the brakes off of them. That doesn't necessarily help you. Sometimes it actually gives you a hindrance when you play that game, because you think, oh, it's going to be easy again. And I don't want that to happen with the Ravens again, because that's why they lost in 2019. They felt like it was going to be easy. I know if they play against the Houston Texans, they're gonna come and give it their all. So for me, one, I also just really like C.J. Stroud, so I do want them to beat the Cleveland Browns. But we don't want to see Joe Flacco in Baltimore. He's gonna feel comfortable. And I'm not saying Ravens fans are going to be rooting for Joe. It's more that Joe Flacco is now in an environment he understands. He knows exactly how the Baltimore Ravens organization is run. He knows how the fans are. He knows how everything's going to work and how it's going to be as an away opponent in the playoffs, because he's played some home playoff games in Baltimore. But those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below who you guys want to play in the divisional round. Do you want to play the Texans, the Browns, the Steelers, or the Miami Dolphins? And who do you guys think are actually going to win? Because I think it's a very good possibility all of the home teams win. However, there's also a good chance all of them lose. Like, Pittsburgh's always a wild card. Miami, they can score with anybody, even in the -2-degree game in Kansas City. That you got Tyreek Hill and you have a quarterback that's accurate like Tua Tagovailoa. You always got a shot. And then Cleveland against Houston, that could also be an upset. So they could all be upsets. They could all go the right way. They're all, I think, like pretty 50-50 even matchups in my opinion. So I'm pretty excited to watch them this weekend. The NFC as well. If you guys want to see my predictions and bold takes and such, check out Play Action Football. I'll be posting game previews and predictions. Obviously when the Ravens play, I'll be doing those on here. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more Ravens content. And I'll see all of you again tomorrow. It's been a while since I've been able to say that, but I'll see you all again then.